जय कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ, जय गिरिवर धारी, जय गिरिवर धारी, जय यशोदा नंदना, जय व्रज जन रंजना, जय यशोदानंदना, जय व्रज जन रंजना, जय यशोदानंदना, जय व्रज जन रंजना, जय यशोदानंदना, जय व्रज जन रंजना, जय यमुना तिरवनचारी, जय कुंज बिहारी, 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुब्रमण्य की जय, नरसिंह भगवान की जय, पंच तत्व की जय, षड गोस्वामी की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, शिवा शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरुदेव की जय, नेता गौर प्रेम हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके bhaktir नैष्टिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with translated songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing from 4th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th chapter, verse number 6. Everybody might be familiar with this verse. So let us recite this verse. 496. Dhruva uvacha yontah pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjevayatya kila shakti dharasvadhamna अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् ध्रुव उवाच योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्ताम् सञ्जीवयति अखिल शक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. One Prabhuji and one Mataji can recite this verse.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji, please. Yes, yes.
ध्रुव उवाच योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तम् सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी. थैंक यू.
Hare Krishna.
दंडोत.
Anybody else wants to recite?
Hare Krishna.
Hare. Hare. Okay.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji.
Prabhuji, please carry on. Carry on, please.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Dhuruvacha yontah pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevayata kila shaktidharasvadhamnam anyamscha hastaccharanashravanatvadadhin प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. Krishna.
Yes, Swayambhava Mataji, you can also recite.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yontah pravisya mama vacham imam prasuktam sanjeevayatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna अन्यांश्च हस्तचरण श्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणां नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. धन्यवाद प्रभुजी. हरे कृष्ण.
So go to word meaning, synonyms. Dhruva Vacha, Dhruva Maharaja said, Yaha, the Supreme Lord, who, Antah, within, Pravishya, entering, Mama, my, Vacham, words, Imam, all these, Prasuptam, which are all inactive or dead, Sanjivayati, rejuvenates, Akhila, universal, Shakti, energy, Daraha, possessing, Swadhamna, by his internal potency, Anyancha, other livings also, Hasta, like hands, Charana, legs, Shravana, ears, Tvak, skin, Adin, and so on, Pranam, life force, Namaha, let me offer my obeisances, Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushaya, the Supreme Person, Tubhyam, unto you. Translation, purport, Vijayan Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation. Dhruva Maharaj said, My dear Lord, you are all powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses. My hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Yeah, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Purport I am not reading now because during the class we will be discussing the main purpose also. Okay, Hare Krishna. Om Gyanjamnandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Bhayevacha Patidana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yanta Pravishya Mamavacha Ima Prasuptam Sanjeevayati Akhila Shakti Dharasvadhamna Nanyam Chahasta Charana Shravanato Gadin Prana Namo Bhavate Purushaya Tubhyam Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangam Nangeti Girim Yatkirvatam Vande Paraman Madhavam Namo Vishnupada Krishna Krishna Bhutrishan Mahashiva Swami Namne Namo Vishnupada Krishna Krishna Bhutrishan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Hiroshi Shuni Avasya Vishnu Jasi Krishna Vipna Guru Nityananda Shri Advaita Darsha Guru Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna Prabhu's Mata is thank you very much for joining and keeping the appointment with Krishna today. Today is 25th of December 2024 and we'll be discussing from 4th canto, 9th chapter, verse number 6. It's a very beautiful verse. This verse should be memorized. Hare Krishna. So we have been continuing with this beautiful chapter of Dhruva Maharaj's episodes, right? So wonderful to hear and imbibe wonderful lessons from that. So in the last chapter, from verse number 71 till 82, just have a recap. So as you all know, that Dhruva Maharaj wanted to sit on the lap of his father, but his stepmother, with very harsh words, she said, "You cannot sit. If you really want to sit, you have to come with, in my womb, right? For that, you have to pray to the Lord and then come with the next Janma like that." So he was very anxious. He started crying, a small boy of 5 years, Dhruva Maharaj. Then he ran to his mother, Suniti. And mother also gave, instead of reacting to the stepmother's words, she said what she said was right, was correct, actual. So you have to go to the Supreme Lord Krishna, who can only give you what you desire. So the son, he went, he was being a Kshatriya also, no? He was very determined to have the darshan of the Lord and ask him for the something beyond his father and even beyond his grandfather's material desires, Means he wanted more than what they had. So he started walking out towards the forest. So in between, Narada Muni, he came there, and initially they had a Vada Vivad, talking. He was telling your small boy, "Oh, the forest will be wild animals will be there. Now it's the time for you to play," and all these things he used to tell Dhruva Maharaj. But Dhruva Maharaj said, "See, whatever, if you want to give me good advice to go and have the darshan of the Lord, you may give me. Otherwise, you please leave it to me, I will go." So Narada Muni knew that he was very determined. Then he gave him wonderful lessons and instructions. He gave him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and how to go about doing the prayers. He also described in the form how the Krishna looks like, all the beautiful forms of the Lord was given. So in the previous chapter, you can see all these things. So now Dhruva Maharaj, he arrived at Madhuvan, where Narada Muni had told him to go, and took his bath in the river Yamuna. And he observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as was advised by Narada Muni, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, look at this austerity. A 5-year-old boy, right? And instructed to him by spiritual master Narada Muni. So he was following as it is. For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries. Or every third day, not daily, every third day. Only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only every 6 days. And for his eatables, he took dry grass and leaves. So thus, thereby he continued his worship. In the third month, he drank water only every 9 days. He remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of the breathing exercise. And therefore, he inhaled air only every 12th day. For us, even one moment, it's difficult, right? Without air. So he inhaled only for every 12th day. In this way, became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the 5th month, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of King Uttanapa, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahman. He completely controlled the senses and their objects also. And in this way, he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else. Upon whom? Upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as given by Narada Muni. So when Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation, right? Who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. Now, as Dhruva Maharaj kept himself steadily standing on one leg, the pressure of his big toe, no, it pushed down half of the earth. Just as an elephant being carried on a boat, no, it rocks the boat left and right with his every step. And when Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with the Lord, the total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating on his closing all the holes of his body, the total universe breathing became choked up. And all the great demigods in all the planetary systems, they felt suffocated. And therefore, demigod took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the demigods went to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he said, Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non-moving living entities. We feel all living entities to be suffocating. Their breathing processes are choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of all surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. So kindly save us from this danger. To this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, My dear demigods, do not be perturbed by this. This is due to the severe austerity and full determination of the son of King Uttanapat, who is now fully absorbed in thought of me. He has obstructed the universal breathing process. You can safely return to your respective homes. I shall stop this boy in his severe acts of austerities, and you will be saved from this situation. So this was the summary of the previous chapter. So now completely choked up, right? No, not able to breathe. So in the first verse of this chapter 491, Maitreya is telling Vidura, when the demigods were thus reassured by the personality of Godhead, they were freed from all fears. And after offering their obeisances, they returned to their heavenly planets. Then the Lord, who is non-different from Sahasra Shisha incarnation, got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to the Madhuvana forest to see his servant Dhruva. See, because of his mature position in yogic meditation, no, we saw how it was done. Dhruva Maharaj was constantly observing the form of the personality of Godhead within his heart. Very important point to understand. Because of his mature position, right, in yogic meditation, he was able to observe the form of the Lord constantly. But all of a sudden, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared from his heart, he thought that he had lost him. Now, Dhruva Maharaj was perturbed. But what happened when opening his eyes and breaking his meditation, what did he see? He saw the same form of the Lord before him. In the Brahma Samhita 5.38, it is said, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. With love. A saintly person who has developed love of Godhead by devotional service always sees the Lord's transcendental form of Shyamasundara. This is a very encouraging statement, right? One who has developed the love of Godhead by devotional service, he will always be seeing the Lord's transcendental form of Shyamasundara form. So this Shyamasundara form of the Lord within the heart of a devotee is not imaginary. When a devotee becomes mature in his prosecution of the devotional service, he sees face to face the same Shyamasundara, which he had thought of during the entire course of his devotional service. Now, since the Supreme Lord is absolute, the form within the heart of a devotee, the form in the temple, and the original form in Vaikuntha, Vrindavan Dham, They're all the same. They are not different from one another. So naturally, when Dhruva Maharaj personally saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he was very much agitated, no? Not agitated like a normal material person, agitated in awe and respect. And it appeared as if he were drinking the entire body of the Lord with his eyes. Such beauty. So devotee's love for the Supreme Personality of God is so intense that he wants to kiss the lotus feet of the Lord constantly. And he wants to touch the tip of the toes of the Lord and constantly embrace lotus feet. That much love has been developed. So all these features of Dhruva Maharaj's bodily expression indicate that upon seeing the Lord face to face, he developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. Now, what are these 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy? In Chaitanya Charitamrita Antyalila 14.99, it is said, the 8 ecstatic symptoms are the state of being stunned, perspiration, standing on the bodily hairs on end, faltering of the voice, trembling, fading of the body's color, tears, and devastation. In the previous verse, now we are doing the 495th verse. Dhruva Maharaj, see, never went to any school or academic teacher to learn the Vedic conclusion. But because of his devotional service to the Lord, as soon as the Lord appeared and touched his forehead with his conscience, automatically the entire Vedic conclusion was revealed to him. That is the process of understanding Vedic literature. See, one cannot understand it simply by academic learning. Vedas indicate that only to one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord as well as in the spiritual master, then only the Vedic conclusion is revealed. Example of a Dhruva Maharaj is that he engaged himself in devotional service to the Lord according to the order of his spiritual master, Narada Muni. That is a very important point to understand. How did he engage himself in devotional service? According to the order of his spiritual master. As it is, he followed Narada Muni. So as a result of his rendering such devotional service with great determination and austerity, the personality of God personally manifested himself before him. That is the faith, the determination and austerity that to be performed, following the instructions of the spiritual master as it is, without any arguments. See, Dhruva Maharaj was only a child, a 5-year-old. He wanted to offer nice prayers to the Lord. But because he lacked sufficient knowledge, he hesitated. But by the mercy of the Lord, as soon as the Lord's conscience touched his forehead, he became completely aware of the Vedic conclusion. And that conclusion is based on proper understanding of the difference between Jiva and Paramatma. That is the individual soul and the super soul. The individual soul is forever a servant of the super soul. And therefore, his relationship with the super soul is to offer service. And that is called Bhakti Yoga or Bhakti Bhava. So Dhruva Maharaj offered his prayers to the Lord not in the way of impersonalist philosophers, but as a devotee. So therefore, it is clearly said here, Bhakti Bhava. The only prayers worth offering are those offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The only prayers worth offering are those which are offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose reputation is spread far and wide. Dhruva Maharaj wanted to have the kingdom of his father, but his father refused even to allow him to sit on his lap. So in order to fulfill his desire, the Lord had already created a planet known as the pole star, Dhruvaloka. And this Dhruvaloka, no, which was never to be annihilated, even at the time of dissolution of the universe, it will not be annihilated. So Dhruva Maharaj attained this perfection, not acting hastily, but by patiently executing the order of his spiritual master. But by patiently executing the order of his spiritual master. And therefore, he became so successful that he saw the Lord face to face. So now he was further enabled by the causeless mercy of the Lord to offer fitting prayers to the Lord. So sometimes we don't know how to pray in front of the Lord. We just go and do namaskar, right? So to really have that bhava, to pray to the Lord, to recite prayers, shlokas to the Lord, we need to have the touch of Krishna. So we have to pray to Krishna. Please, I want to glorify you. I want to sincerely pray. So to glorify or offer prayers unto Supreme, one needs the Lord's mercy. One cannot write to glorify the Lord unless one is endowed with his causeless mercy. So that's why in the beginning now we saw in this verse, after Yonta Pravishya, Mamavachi Imam Prasuptam. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses. My hands, my legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. So whenever you start class, whenever you try to preach him, you have to take the blessings of Krishna. So then he will enliven all your sleeping senses. So in one of the classes, Srila Prabhupada, he said, actually Krishna is the master of the senses, Rishikesha. In Bhagavad Gita, you will find in the 11th chapter, it is said, Sarvata Pani Padaste. That is, God has his hands and legs all over the universe. This, our hand, our legs, this is actually God's hands, God's leg. He is the master. And I am claiming this is my hand, this is my leg. But as soon as the God withdraws power of your hand or leg, it is paralyzed. You cannot repair. Therefore, the real proprietor is Krishna. You are not the proprietor. You have been given the facility to use it. Use it not for your sense gratification, but for the satisfaction of Krishna. Then your life is perfect. Now, because the things belong to Krishna, he is Rishikesha, he is the master. Just like we are staying in a house rented to us. So somebody has given to us. So everything belongs to Krishna. This is self-realization. My body belongs to Krishna. My mind belongs to Krishna. My intelligence belongs to Krishna. I am the spirit soul. I am part and parcel of Krishna. So everything belongs to him. Isha vastyam idam sarvam. The first verse, mantra, Isha Upanishad. Everything belongs to Krishna. So if you don't use it for Krishna, that is called demonism. And if you use it for Krishna, that is devotion. That's all. So one must realize that everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing belongs to us. Even this body is given to us by God, Krishna. Why a different body? Krishna gives us different body according to our karma. So that is explained. Karmana deva netrena jantur deho papatyate. Upapattaye. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:31:1. So how we get a different type of body? We have got different types of body because according to our past karma. We have created a certain type of body because of the karmas. And now we have entered into that body and working according to past karma. So jnana means to understand the Param Brahman. Sarvata Pani Padam. Which is Param Brahman has got Pani means hands and Pada and legs everywhere. How is it possible? So that is knowledge. It is possible. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we have got our hands and legs. Therefore, Krishna has got his hands and legs everywhere. But our hands and legs are now engaged otherwise, not in the glorification of Krishna. It is not for Krishna. And that is called illusion. Actually, the hands and legs belong to Krishna. My hand, it is not my hand. It is Krishna's hand. My leg, it is Krishna's leg. But in Maya, in illusion, no, it is covered by Upadhi. My hand means it is Indian hand. My leg means Indian leg. My hand means American hand, American leg. No, it is neither American nor Indian. It's all Krishna's hands and legs. That you have to realize. That is real knowledge. You have to understand that you are not the proprietor of these hands and legs. Krishna is the proprietor. So in this verse, 496, we see, where Prabhupada writes, unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his bodily limbs, mind and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping. So from the bodily concept of life, one has to transcend to the spiritual platform. That is the goal of any genuine process of self-realization. See, at first we are all thinking we are the body. Then one who transcends the bodily concept of life comes to the platform of mind. First is, we are all thinking we are the body. Indriyani parani ahu. Then one transcends the bodily concept of life, comes to the platform of mind. Indriyabhya param manah. The word manah means mind. Practically, The whole population of the world is under the bodily concept of life. But above them, there are some people who are under the mental concept of life. They are thinking they are the mind. And a few people are on the intellectual platform. Manasastu para buddhihi. Buddhi means intelligence. And when you transcend the intellectual platform also, then you come to the spiritual platform. So that is the first realization required. So before you practice transcendental meditation, you have to reach the transcendental platform. So if you want to catch the train, first you have to go to the platform, right? At your home, the train will not come. So you have to reach there. So that transcendental platform is called Brahma Bhuta. So we have heard the word Brahman, no? The transcendentalist, he thinks, Aham Brahmasmi, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intelligence, I am spirit soul. So this is the transcendental platform. So in the purport of this verse, Prabhupada mentions our Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed a song in which he addresses himself. Oh living entity, get up. How long shall you sleep on the lap of Maya? Now you have got the opportunity of possessing a human form of body. Now try to get up and realize yourself. The Vedas also declare, get up, get up. You have the opportunity, the boon of the human form of life. Now realize yourself. These are the Vedic injunctions. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. It's a beautiful bhajan, right? It's very nicely Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said. Jeev Jago, Gora Chanda Bole, Hota Nidra Jao Maya, Pishachira Kole. Baji Bobulia Eshe, Samsara Bhitare, Baji Bobulia Eshe, Samsara Bhitare, Bhuliya Rohile Tumi, Avidyar Bhare, Bhuliya Rohile Tumi, Avidyar Bhare. Jeev jago, Gora chanda bole, Kota nidra jao maya, Pishachira kole. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a few more stanzas are there, but time is of the essence. So you can read this bhajan and it's very nice. You can sing also. So as I read the translation, Lord Gauranga is calling, wake up sleeping souls, wake up sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? You have forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the world of birth and death. I have descended to save you. Other than myself, you have no friend in this world. I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you are suffering. Take this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I fall at the Lord's feet, having taken this Maha Mantra. Jai Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. So this is such wonderful prayers by these acharyas, no? We should recite those. So unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his body, limbs, mind, and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping. See, when Dhrumaraj was advised by his mother, Suniti, to go to the forest and worship Krishna in order to get his wishes fulfilled, Dhruva immediately leaves the palace. By mercy of the Lord, he gets darshan of Narada Muni, who after testing his determination for devotional service, very nicely guides him as to how he should approach Krishna. Dhruva, with full earnestness and sincerity, he follows instructions of his guru Narada Muni for 6 months. And then by his mercy, the Supreme Lord appears before Dhruva Maharaj. As a result of his sincere devotion and seeing the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord, all material desires vanish. And Dhruva Maharaj could now experience transcendental ecstasy. And with great love, he saw the Lord and wanted to offer him very nice prayers. That's why in the fourth verse, we just now saw, right? By the touch of the conch shell on his forehead. So this is very inspiring verse, wherein we can see how the Lord lovingly empowers and helps his dear devotees in every step. It is said that when we take one step towards the Lord, he takes 100 steps towards us. So when the little Dhruva set off to the forest all alone, Krishna ensured that he got good guidance from Narada Muni. And later, when he was performing all the austerities in the forest, Krishna ensured that he was able to do them peacefully, without any disturbance from wild animals and other living beings in the forest. See, for everything we need the mercy of the Lord. Otherwise, if we go to the forest, we'll be always thinking, oh, if any lion comes, tiger comes, right? But he being a 5-year-old boy, no fear, because everything is given by Krishna. So after giving him the darshan also, when Dhruva Maharaj wanted to offer him prayers, no, he was not knowing how to do. So the Lord bestowed upon him all the knowledge by touching with his conscience. That's why Prabhupada very nicely says in the purport, every devotee wants to chant the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Devotees are always interested in hearing about the Lord's transcendental qualities. And they're always eager to glorify these qualities. But sometimes they feel inconvenienced by humbleness. So the personality of Godhead being situated in everyone's heart specifically gives a devotee intelligence to describe him. So therefore it is understood that when a devotee writes or speaks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his words are dictated by the Lord from within. It's not that I am writing. No. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, one of the seed verses. To those who constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord from within dictates what to do next in order to serve him. So let us see the first point, desire to serve. Srila Prabhupada, in his word to word equivalence, translates the word vivakshantam as wanting to offer prayers describing his qualities. And atat vidam as not experienced at that. And kripaya as out of costless mercy. See, many times it might so happen that we might not have any experience in doing a service. But if we simply have the desire to serve, we don't know how to serve and all, but if we have just the desire to serve, then all merciful Krishna, out of his costless mercy, he bestows us the knowledge, strength, time, and favorable circumstance to execute the service nicely. We can see practically how so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada, initially when they joined the Hare Krishna movement in America, they did not have any prior experience of building rathas or carving deities, drawing, painting beautiful pictures of the Lord, stitching clothes for the deities, cooking prasadam, building temples, reading Sanskrit, pronouncing it correctly, translating the scriptures from Sanskrit to English. See, like this, the list of services is endless. They were all atat vidam in those respective services, in experience. But all of them had the sincere desire to serve their beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and also Krishna. And so Krishna made them the best instruments in the respective services. This is the first point, is desire to serve. The second point is transcendental inspiration. What happens when the Lord bestows his costless mercy on the devotees is very nicely described by Srila Prabhupada in the purport of this verse. 494. Prabhupada says, when Dhruva Maharaj felt hesitant, not knowing how to describe the Lord for want of sufficient experience, the Lord, out of his costless mercy, touched his conch shell to Dhruva's forehead, and he was transcendently inspired. Because of the touch with the conch shell on his forehead, Dhruva Maharaj was transcendently inspired. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahma Maya. Because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound vibration of the Vedas. This is not the ordinary sound vibration of this material world. Therefore, the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, although presented in the ordinary alphabet, should not be taken as mundane or material. It is transcendental. Many times, my Guru Maharaj, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, used to say, after the class, he used to say that he had prepared so many points before the class. But once he sat on the Vyasasana and spoke, very different and new points came. And Maharaj said that those points are from Krishna. See, being Mahabhagavata, Maharaj need not prepare for any class. But being such an exalted Vaishnava Maharaj, always practiced what he preached. He insisted that we should sincerely prepare at least for 2 hours before we give the class. And when we are sincere in our efforts, then the all-merciful Lord Krishna takes full control when we attempt to glorify him by speech or writing. So Prabhupada in his word-to-word equivalence mentions this Brahma Mayena, just consistent with the words of the Vedic hymns. Consistent. Many times devotees found Srila Prabhupada reading the books which were written by him. And when they inquired, Prabhupada said that these books were all written by Krishna. He was just an instrument. So Prabhupada himself relished reading it again and again. So now let us see a few more examples from the lives of devotees as to how they were all transcendently inspired by Krishna. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan is a disciple of Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura. Once, the devotees from other Vaishnava Sampradayas told the king in Jaipur that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas should not involve themselves in deity worship. They even began to argue that Srimati Radharani should not be worshipped along with Sri Govindji or Sri Gopinathji, as there is no mention of her name in the Vedanta Sutras. Out of respect for the devotees, the king had to temporarily remove Srimati Radharani's deity from the temple. But the king himself, being a devotee in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, he sent word to devotees in Vrindavana so that they come and establish the truth to the other Sampradayas. Still, since Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was too old to travel to Jaipur, he sent his student Baladev Vidyabhushan. Though Baladev was preaching furiously, no one was prepared to accept his statements according to Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, although sufficient evidence was there. The reason others would not accept his statements was because there was no established commentary of Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra by any of the Gaudiya Acharyas to support Gaudiya Vaishnavism at that time. So Baladeva promised to present them with one. So they gave Baladeva 18 days to have his commentary ready for discussion. Now, feeling very aggrieved and transcendently anxious, Srila Baladeva took shelter of the Lord and came to Sri Govindaji's temple in Jaipur. After offering his prostrated obeisances, he informed Sri Govinda of everything that had happened. He spoke to him and told what is happening. So that night, the Lord appeared to him in a dream and instructed him to write a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. The Lord said to him, "You just write, and I will dictate to you what to write. And therefore, no one will be able to refuse to accept it." After that transcendental dream, Baladeva became very enthused and began to write. And within a few days, completed the commentary, which was titled Sri Govinda Bhashya. He wrote, "May he, who so mercifully and munificently was kind towards me, and bestowed his favor by ordering me in a dream to write down his own commentary, which he would compose, and which attained such renown amongst the learned cycles, that they bestowed upon me the title Vidyabhushan. May that dear friend of Srimati Radharani, who holds him dearer than her own life, be glorified. May that Sri Govinda be glorified." So all the Vaishnavas from other Sampradayas were speechless when they heard the commentary of Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana, as it was indeed Brahmamaya, transcendently inspired by Sri Govindaji. So it is to this great Acharya, Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushan, Srila Prabhupada dedicated his wonderful Bhagavad Gita as it is. You can see in Bhagavad Gita in the beginning. We shall meditate on the glorious life of Sri. Now, first was Baladev Vidyabhushan. Now, let us see another devotee, wonderful, glorious life of Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Who is he? He is the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, right, had been living with his family in Katwa, a small town in the district of Burdwan in Bengal. He worshipped Radha Krishna with his family. And once, when there was some misunderstanding among his family members about devotional service, he was advised by Nityananda Prabhu in a dream to leave home and go to Vrindavana. Although he was very old, almost 90, he started out that very night and went to live in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he met Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, one of the principal disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Raghunatha Dasa Goswami was earlier staying in Puri, and he had the good association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his eternal associate Swarup Damodar Goswami, and had heard from him about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in Puri. So, on the request of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, now Raghunath Das Goswami shared these pastimes with them, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was also fortunate to hear the same from him. So later, the devotees requested Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write these pastimes. It is very important for us to understand the time, the place, and the circumstances under which Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote this great sublime literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. See, in this great book, Antilila, chapter 20, verses 92 to 98, he says, I infer that I have written is a false understanding. I have written is a false understanding. For my body is like a wooden doll. I am old and troubled by invalidity. I am almost blind and deaf. My hands tremble. My mind and intelligence are unsteady. I am infected with so many diseases that I can neither properly walk nor properly sit. Indeed, I am always exhausted by 5 kinds of diseases. I may die at any time of the day or night. I have previously given an account of my inabilities. Please hear the reason why I nevertheless still write. Why did I write still? With all these inabilities. I am writing this book by the mercy of the lotus feet of Sri Govinda Deva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, other devotees and the readers of this book, as well as Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, and Sri Jiva Goswami. I have also been specifically favored by another Supreme Personality of God. So for conditioned souls like us, a small fever, pain in hands or legs, or any other silly anxieties in life is very good reason to take a break from devotional service. But here we find Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in such failing health conditions, when it's not possible for him to sit or walk. Even when his hands were trembling, he wrote this great voluminous nectarian literature, Chaitanya Charitamrita. All the acharyas say that this is a great miracle. And how this miracle was possible is also revealed by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the next few verses. That is Antilila 20.99 and 100. Sri Madana Mohan, deity of Vrindavana, has given the order that is making me write. Although this should not be disclosed, I disclose it because I am unable to remain silent. If I did not disclose this fact, I would be guilty of ingratitude to the Lord. So here again we see how Lord transcendently inspires and makes it possible for his dear devotees to write his glories in all conditions of life. See, there were 2 great devotees of Lord Guruvayurappa, that is Krishna, in Guruvayur, Narayana Bhattatari and Poondanam. Now let us see how the Lord inspired and guided these devotees when they composed the hymns glorifying the Lord. Narayana Bhattatari was well versed in Sanskrit, and he composed the 1034 verse Narayaniyam, a summary of the Bhagavad Puran in 1586 AD. It is very interesting to know how the Lord inspired him to compose Narayaniyam. Bhattatari was a disciple of Achyuta Pisharodhi. So once when Achyuta Pisharodhi became ill, out of devotion to his guru, Bhattatari took the disease upon himself as part of Guru Dakshina. The disease was incurable. And so he proceeded towards Guruvayurappan temple. There, he met Ezhuthachan, who was a great devotee of Lord Guruvayurappan. So when Bhattatari inquired him the cure of his disease, Ezhuthachan responded, "You please start with fish." Now Bhattatari could try and interpret the inner meaning and began to glorify the Lord starting from fish incarnation. Now, since he was also a Sanskrit scholar, since he was also a Sanskrit scholar, every day he sang 10 shlokas, one dashaka on Guru Ayappan. He started composing one dashaka a day under direct instructions from Lord Guru Ayappan himself in the Sanctum Sanctorum of Guru Ayappan Temple in Guruvayur. In fact, after every chapter, the Lord himself has nodded his head in acceptance. He is clearly coming out in the shlokas of Narayanam. Once it so happened that another devotee, Pundanam, who was composing Gyanapanna, hymns glorifying the Lord in Malayalam language, he approached Bhattacharya and requested him to review his work. Now, considering Sanskrit composition to be more greater than Malayalam, Bhattacharya refused and said, better learn Sanskrit and offer the hymns in Sanskrit. Pundanam went home and he wept. He was crying bitterly before the Lord. Later, when Bhattacharya was trying to offer his verses, a boy appeared there and started pointing out errors in the verses he was composing. After the 10th verse, Bhattacharya realized that the boy was the Lord himself and understood that Pundanam's bhakti was more pleasing to the Lord than his own superior knowledge of Vibhakti, Sanskrit grammar and learning. So he rushed to Pundanam and sought his forgiveness. When he read the Jnana Panna, he thought that it was flawless. He found it very flawless. Then at the end of 100 days, he also completed composition of Aranyam and his disease was also cured. So here we find that how language does not matter. Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana and not Bhashagrahi Janardana. He not only accepts whatever offerings the devotees do with love and devotion, but also inspires them and guides them when they have simple desire to glorify him. So these are some very good devotees who are inspired by the Lord, right? One more devotee I would like to speak about who was transcendently inspired by the Lord. In fact, my Guru Maharaj, actually, he's one of my god brothers in Kerala. His name is His Grace Anadhini Dhanam Prabhuji. We would like to see the service done by this my god brother from Trivandrum was transcendently inspired by our Guru Maharaj, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, and also Krishna to do the translation for the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in Malayalam language few years ago. So here again, we need to understand the circumstances in which Prabhuji did this service. See, though he was only in 20s, he was 20 years old. He was bedridden after a fatal train accident. The accident devastated all hopes of his life. He had just begun his career and was hoping to support his family, but he had to be supported by his aged parents after the incident. He was so frustrated that he felt that death would have been better than to be bedridden. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, devotees met him, gave him Srila Prabhupada's books, and also connected him with Maharaj over the phone. So when he expressed his frustrations, Maharaj so lovingly encouraged him to see this accident as a blessing, an opportunity to use the time to translate Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam into Malayalam. Inspired by Maharaj's words, Prabhuji completed the translation of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein he was so meticulously translated the word-to-word equivalents very nicely. In spite of being in bedridden, right? Still he was able to translate the whole first canto of Bhagavatam in Malayalam. By Krishna's will, Prabhuji left his body. His life is very glorious as he used his time nicely in Krishna's service. So Prabhupada very nicely mentions in his translation of verse 322-35 the reason why Swayambhu Manu's life was ever fresh, even during the fag end of his life. Although his duration of life gradually came to an end, Swayambhu Manu, his long life, consisting of Manvantara era, was not spent in vain, since he ever always engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord. Prabhupada very nicely mentions in the purport of 1.13.10 of Bhagavatam, the pure devotees hear from the authorities and chant, sing, and write to the glories of the Lord, write the glories of the Lord. That's why Vyasadeva heard from Narada, and then he chanted in writing. Chanted in writing. So writing the glories of the Lord is also like chanting, Kirtanam. Because of Srila Prabhupada's writings, millions of souls have been saved now from the blazing fire of middle existence. So Vyasadeva compiled Bhagavatam, inspired by spiritual master Narada Muni. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana wrote commentaries on the scriptures, inspired by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All our acharyas like Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada, they hardly slept for 2 or 3 hours and spent time writing and glorifying Lord Krishna. Glorifying Krishna, right? My spiritual master also always insisted and encouraged devotees to make it a point to write down the notes. Whenever you hear in a class or whenever you are doing individual study, write it down. Right from the initial 9 years study of Prabhupada's books in the Soho Street Temple till his winding up pastime, my Guru Maharaj never stopped writing. He always meticulously noted the points in his diaries. Mahajano yena gathasva pantaha. So may we always remember the golden instructions of all these acharyas and follow in their footsteps. We may be completely hopeless, useless, or having so many ailments or deficiencies in us. Still, when we simply desire and make an attempt to glorify the Lord, when we simply desire and make an attempt to glorify the Lord, then the all-merciful Lord transcendently inspires us to write or speak and makes them all Brahmamaya. So the last paragraph of this verse, 496, Prabhupada says, without revelation of the spiritual energy, one is unable to offer prayers glorifying the Lord. Any amount of philosophical speculation or poetic expression by mundane persons is still considered to be the action and reaction of the material energy. When one is actually enlivened by the spiritual energy, all his senses become purified and he engages only in the service of the Lord. At that time, his hands, legs, ears, tongue, mind, genitals, everything engage in the service of the Lord. Such an enlightened devotee no longer has any material activities, nor has he any interest in being materially engaged. This process of purifying the senses and engaging them in the service of the Lord is known as bhakti, devotional service. In the beginning, the senses are engaged by the direction of the spiritual master and shastras. And after realization, when the same senses are purified, the engagement continues. The difference is that in the beginning, the senses are engaged in a mechanical way. But after realization, they are engaged in spiritual understanding. I'll stop here now. Thank you very much, Prabhupada Mataji. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Kai Gaur Kumari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpataro Bech Kripa Sandhu Bhayevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava. Thank you very much, Prabhupada Mataji, for giving this opportunity to glorify the Lord and purify ourselves. So if you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So the conch shell has touched your forehead. So please come out with some prayers. Okay, if you don't have any questions or anything to share, let's stop here now. So thank you very much, Prabhupada Mataji. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you, Ganesh Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so much,
Dandavat
Mataji.
Pranam.
And Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. Dandavat.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, thank you very much. I'll close now. Hare Krishna.